I'm going to use some of these little wood boxes from the Dollar Tree, 4 of them. They have the little like metal file folder like holders at the end. I just needed 4 tiny little squares, so I think they have these in a couple sizes, but basically you could use whatever you had. You might even be able to use one of those like crates from the Target dollar spot if you can't find these, but I just picked up 4 all the same size, and I thought we could put it together and then use some of those little shore living ornaments to make a cool little coastal shadow box. So I'm going to start by gluing them together. I'm going to use a combination of hot glue and wood glue, kind of a short-term, a long-term hold on those, and just kind of glue them together, trying to make them square. I'm going to make sure that the holes where the little file folder things that I removed are kind of pointing towards each other. So I will glue those together and I'll have a beautiful like wood finish on all of them. So once I get the top 2 together, I just glue the whole thing together. And these were remarkably square. They fit together really nicely. And now we have a really like large shadow box that we can decorate. I was going to reinforce it on the back with popsicle sticks, but I found that it didn't really need it at all. Now, the wood on this is really pretty inside and on like around the edges, but the actual like front of the frames are that like unfinished like MDF. So I do want to paint those. So I am just going to go through and tape off everything that I don't want to get any paint on. And then we can go in and paint these blue. The color that I'm using there, I think is the Caribbean blue. These are just acrylic paint, and I'm going to go in and kind of use my chunky brush to kind of give me that coastal like vibe, but I'm going for about as good coverage as I can get. I want to do like the inside of each box where it's at like unfinished MDF wood, and the fronts as well. And it's gonna make it look beachy with this beautiful like Caribbean blue color, but it's also going to cover up that part of the wood that's not pretty and just leave all of the pretty ones. I don't know why they don't kind of finish that off completely. I guess these are supposed to be like little bins, but we're going to use them for frames. So going over, trying to give like a nice like coastal farmhouse vibe on this. And then we can dry it and remove all the painter's tape. Taping it was probably the hardest part of the whole process. But it did a pretty good job. And doesn't that look cool? Because it's got like that rustic blue with like the wood coming through. Very coastal with that like light wood background. Now, these are the little ornaments from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to use like 4 different ones. They have these every year with the Shore Living, and I was able to find them again this year. And actually, I had 3 of the big ones, and I decided to do some smaller, some of the clothespins for the 3rd one. These little fish. Now, I like popping the clothespins off of these. But you got to be careful because sometimes they're like really glued down and you're going to end up, like splitting your wood or breaking it in half. So you might want to use a little bit of heat first. I was just going right after it to try to get that off. But I really like these little tiny wood cutouts. I kind of wish they wouldn't have the clothespins on them because, I'm not really going to use them like that for a lot of applications. Now, I do want to fill up the hole in the starfish, the sea turtle, and the little seahorse. And so I just used hot glue to try to fill that in. You can use spackle. I never really know what works best, but one of y'all told me to try that, so I did. Now we're going to paint our little ornaments. The little starfish has like little circles on it. I kind of wanted just the plain side, so I'm painting the back. and then the sea turtle and the seahorse, and I was able to get 2 of those little fish off of the little clothespins. And I found that you could still kind of see the holes, and since it's kind of a display piece, I really didn't want you to be able to see the holes in these. So after painting, I did notice that it still needed some filler, so I did go back and spackle them. That's the only thing I like about the ocean creature wood ornaments that I get on Amazon, is that they don't have the holes in them. And you could still see the holes after my spackle. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm going to get serious with this one. So I decided to try covering it up with some masking tape. Sometimes I have luck for that. I don't know. Maybe I just don't fill my spackler enough, or like give it enough time to dry. But we're going to try the masking tape method, because I really don't want to be able to see that hole. And I have filled it twice with glue and with spackle. And I'm painting these with that ivory chalk paint, so it's kind of thick. So I think that I can cover up like the depth of the masking tape, and it'll kind of make it blend all in. That is my plan anyway. And I think I finally got good coverage there. And then I want them to look, a little distressed. And so I am going to use some Antique Wax by Waverly to distress them slightly. Just want a little bit of a tan distress on there. So I'm following that up with a baby wipe to get it just how I want it. And I'm going to do the same thing with all of them, just kind of working in one direction. I always like to use those little chunky brushes from the Dollar Tree, and then a baby wipe to kind of blend it in. It's going to give us that distressed look and not quite so stark ivory or white. And I just kind of want like an even level of distress on all of them. If you don't think it's distressed quite enough, you can always go back in. And if you distress too much, you can always go back with your original color too. Don't be afraid to try to do it. It's actually pretty easy. But sometimes it does take a couple tries to get it exactly the way that you want it. And now we can put it together. I'm going to do my 2 little fish here, like kind of swimming in a school. It could be really cute if you had 3 too, but the boxes are not that big. And I chose these little crates because they were square. I thought that would look cool. And here is our little starfish. I just hot glue that one in there. And our little seahorse on this side. And our little sea turtle over here. I finally got the holes covered in those. I think I should have started with the masking tape first. Now, I wanted it to look like there was a little fishing net, but the fishing net from the Dollar Tree, this is the kind they have in the summer section. I'm not a big fan of it because the holes are kind of too big. So I kind of wanted to show you that in comparison to what I'm going to use. These are the little ombre tote bags from the Dollar Tree. If you see these, pick these up, because look how good this material is to make like a tiny fishnet. It does have like half pink, half ivory, but we're just going to use the ivory. I'm just going to cut some out to make some fishing net, just to kind of display over on the side. I know that some of you guys have said to use like, I think the Dollar Tree has the little, no skid rug backers that kind of similar color and size that you could also use to make a fishing net. But since this is kind of more like a miniature project, I thought that I wanted a fishing net with more of a smaller vibe like that. So I just cut a strip of it out, and I'm just going to kind of hot glue it here on the back and just kind of drape it over the side, just to give me a fun little coastal feel. Just trimming that down a little bit, and I kind of like that little effect, just kind of dripping over the side. And I think it turned out so cute. What do you guys think about my little sea creature shadow box?